me, Harun, and this is Kumiko-chan. This is the story of the ogre of Rashomon. Mukashi mukashi aru tokoro ni. Long, long time ago, in old age time in Japan, in Kyoto, the people of the city were terrified by the accounts of a dreadful ogre, an oni, who was said haunted the gate of Rashomon at twilight and seized whoever passed by. The missing victims were never seen again, so it was whispered that the oni was a horrible cannibal who not only killed the unhappy victims, but also ate them. And now everybody in the town and neighborhood was in great fear, and no one durst venture out after sunset near the gate of Rashomon. Now at this time there lived in Kyoto a general named Raiko, who had made himself famous for his brave deeds. Some time before this he made the country ring with his name, for he had attacked Oeyama, where a band of Oni lived with their chief, who instead of wine drank the blood of human beings. He had routed them all out and cut off the head of the chief monster. This brave warrior was always followed by a bandful of faithful samurai. In this band there were 5 samurai of great valor. One evening, as the 5 samurai sat at a feast quaffing sake in their rice bowls and eating all kinds of fish, raw and stewed, broiled, and toasting each other's healths and exploits, the first samurai, Hojo, said to the others, "Now you've heard the rumor that every evening after sunset there comes an Oni to the gate of Rashomon, and that he seizes all who pass by." The second samurai, Watanabe, answered him, saying, "Do not talk such nonsense. All the Oni were killed by our chief Raiko at Oeyama. It cannot be true, because even if any Oni did escape from that great killing, they would not dare to show themselves in the city, for they know that our brave master would at once attack them if he knew that any of them were still alive." "Then do you disbelieve what I say, and think that I am telling you a falsehood?" "No, I do not think that you are telling a lie," said Watanabe, "but you have heard some old woman's story which is not worth believing." "Then the best plan is to prove what I say, by going there yourself and finding out yourself whether it's true or not," said Hojo. Watanabe, the second samurai, would not bear the thought that his companion should believe he was afraid, so he answered quickly, "Of course I will go at once and find out for myself." So Watanabe at once got ready to go. He buckled on his long sword and put on a coat of armor and tied on his large helmet. When he was ready to start, he said to the others, "Give me something so that I can prove I have been there." Then one of the men got a roll of writing paper and his box of Indian ink and brushes, and the 4 comrades wrote their names on a piece of paper. "I will take this," said Watanabe, "and put it on the gate of Rashomon. So tomorrow morning will you all go and look at it. I may be able to catch an Oni or two by then." And he mounted his horse and rode off gallantly. It was a very dark night, and there was neither moon nor star to light Watanabe on his way. To make the darkness worse, a storm came on. The rain fell heavily, and the winds howled like wolves in the mountains. Any ordinary man would have trembled at the thought of going out of doors, but Watanabe was a brave warrior and dauntless, and his honor and word were at stake. So he sped on into the night, while his companions listened to the sound of his horse's hoofs dying away in the distance, then shut the sliding shutters close and gathered round the charcoal fire and wondered what would happen and whether their comrade would encounter one of these horrible Oni. At last Watanabe reached the gate of Rashomon, but peer as he might through the darkness, he could see no sign of an Oni. "It is just as I thought," said Watanabe to himself. "There certainly were no Oni here. It's only an old woman's story. I will stick this paper on the gate so that the others can see I have been here when they come tomorrow, and then I will take on my way home and laugh at them all." He fastened the piece of paper, signed by all his 4 companions on the gate, and then turned his horse's head towards home. So he did. As he did so, he became aware that some one was behind him, and at the same time a voice called out to him to wait. Then his helmet was seized from the back. "Who are you?" said Watanabe fearlessly. He then put his hand and groped around to find out who and what it was that held him by the helmet. As he did so, he touched something that felt like an arm. It was covered with his hair and as big round as the trunk of a tree. Watanabe knew at once that this was the arm of an Oni, so he drew his sword and cut at it fiercely. There was a loud yell of pain, and then the Oni dashed in front of the warrior. Watanabe's eyes grew large with wonder, for he saw that the Oni was taller than the great gate. His eyes were flashing like mirrors in the sunlight, and his huge mouth was wide open, and as the monster breathed, flames of fire shot out of its mouth. The Oni thought to terrify his foe, but Watanabe never flinched. He attacked the Oni with all his strength, and thus they fought face to face for a long time. At last the Oni, finding that he could neither frighten nor beat Watanabe, that he might himself be beaten, took to flight. But Watanabe, determined not to let the monster escape, put spurs on his horse and gave chase. But through but though the samurai rode very fast, the Oni ran faster, and to his disappointment he found himself unable to overtake the monster, who was gradually lost to sight. Watanabe returned to the gate where the fierce fight had taken place, and got down from his horse. As he did so, he stumbled upon something lying on the ground. Stooping to pick it up, he found that it was one of the Oni's huge arms, which must have slashed off in the fight. His joy was great at having secured such a prize, for this was the best of all proofs of his adventure with the Oni. So he took it carefully and carried it home as a trophy of his victory. When he got back, he showed the arm to his comrades, who one and all called him the hero of their band and gave him a great feast. His wonderful deed was soon noised abroad in Kyoto, and the people from far and near came to see the Oni's arm. Watanabe was now began to grow uneasy as how he should keep the arm in safety, for he knew that the Oni to whom it belonged was still alive. He felt sure that one day or other, as soon as the Oni got over his scare, he would come to try to get his arm back. Watanabe therefore had a box made of the strongest wood and banded with iron. In this he placed the arm, and then he sealed down the heavy lid, refusing to open it for anyone. He kept the box in his own room and took charge of it for himself, never allowing it out of sight. Now one day he heard someone knocking on the porch, asking for admittance. When the servant went to the door to see who it was, there was an old woman, very respectable in appearance. On being asked who she was and what was her business, the old woman replied with a smile that she had been a nurse to the master of the house when he was little baby. If the lord of the house were at home, she begged to be allowed to see him. The servant left the woman at the door and went to tell his master that his old nurse had come to see him. Watanabe thought it strange that she should come at that time of night, but at the thought of his old nurse, who had been like a foster mother to him, and whom had not seen for a long time, very tender feelings sprang up in her heart. He ordered the servant to show her in. The old woman was ushered into the room, and after the customary bows and greetings were over, she said, "Master, the report of your brave fight with the Oni at the gate of Rashomon is so widely known that even your poor old nurse has heard of it. Is it really true, what everyone says, that you cut off one of the Oni arms? If you did, your deed is highly to be praised." It was I was very disappointed, said Watanabe, that I was not able to take the monster captive, which was what I wished to do, instead of only cutting off an arm. I am very proud to think, answered the old woman, that my master was so brave as to dare to cut off an Oni arm. There is nothing that can be compared to your courage. Before I die, it is the great wish of my life to see this arm, she added pleadingly. No, said Watanabe, I am sorry, but I cannot grant your request. But why? Asked the old woman. Because, replied Watanabe, Oni are very revengeful creatures, and if I open the box, there is no telling but that the Oni may suddenly appear and carry off his arm. I've had a box made on purpose with a very strong lid, and in this box I keep the Oni arm secure, and I never show it to anyone, whatever happens. Your precaution is very reasonable, said the old woman, but I am your old nurse, so surely you will not refuse to show me the arm. I have only just heard of your brave act, and not being able to wait till the morning, I came at once to ask you to show it to me. Watanabe was very troubled at the old woman's pleading, but he still persisted in refusing. Then the old woman said, "Do you suspect me of being a spy by the Oni?" No, of course not. No, of course I do not suspect you of being of the Oni spy, for you are my old nurse," answered Watanabe. But you cannot surely refuse to show me the arm any longer, entreated the old woman. For it is the great wish in my heart to see once and for all the arm of an Oni. Watanabe could not hold on in his refusal any longer, so he gave in at last, saying, "Then I will show you the Oni arm, since you so earnestly wish to see it. Come, follow me," said he. And he led the way to his own room, the old woman following. When they were both in the room, Watanabe shut the door carefully. Then, going towards a big box which stood in the corner of the room, he took off the heavy lid. He then called to the old woman to come near and look in, for he never took the arm out of the box. "What is it like? Let me have a look at it," said the old nurse with a joyful face. She came nearer and nearer as if she were afraid, till she stood right against the box. Suddenly she plunged her hand into the box and seized the arm, crying with a fearful voice which made the room shake. "Oh, joy! I have got my arm back again." And from an old woman who was suddenly transformed into the towering figure of a frightful Oni, Watanabe sprang back and was unable to move for a moment, and so great was his astonishment. But recognizing the Oni who had attacked him at the gate of Rashomon, he determined that his usual courage he determined with his usual courage to put an end to him this time. He seized his sword, drew it out of its sheath in a flash, and tried to cut the Oni down. So quick was Watanabe that the creature had a narrow escape, but the Oni sprang up to the ceiling, bursting through the roof, disappeared in the mist and clouds. In this way the Oni escaped with his arm. The samurai gnashed his teeth with disappointment, but that was all he could do. He waited in patience for another opportunity to dispatch the Oni, but the latter was afraid of Watanabe's great strength and daring. Never troubled Kyoto again, and never troubled Kyoto again. So once more the people of the city were able to go out without fear, even at night time, and the brave deeds of Watanabe have never been forgotten. Oshimai. And that was the story of the Oni of Rashomon. Johnny, bye for now.